Hey, what's up guys? Jake with Legacy 4x4 here again, and today we're back working on the Bronco, actually working on the back of the Bronco. So today we're going to be building a rear bumper for my 1990 OBS Ford Bronco. Let's get started. So as you can see in here, I spun the Bronco around. All of the interior is still out. I'm waiting on all these parts to come in and I want to do something. So while we're waiting on these parts, I'm going to do some exterior stuff. So you can see I've got my very fancy, very professional Lowe's bucket seat that was about as comfortable as a PRP seat is up in there, but that's how I was able to move and turn the truck around. I wanted to have the rear of the truck facing into the shop so it's easier to build this bumper here. Alright, so if you guys have seen some of my other builds, I am a huge fan of simplicity, especially when it comes to parts like bumpers. As far as I'm concerned, bumpers serve really two purposes. It's to protect the rear frame rails, and it's to be something that can get hit if you do end up getting in an accident or run into a tree or something. So I love simple, super simple bumpers, and the Bronco is going to be no exception to that. I'm planning on doing a really simple bumper out of sheet steel with some tubular supports on the inside of it, and I'm going to make it fit into this little gap that we have back here. I don't want to do a super complex pre-runner bumper. I don't want to do anything like that. I'm just going to do super simple, and I'm going to see how fast I can build this bumper. I've got a couple hours to work today before it gets dark, so I'm going to see if I can get this bumper finished up and painted today and then hang it up on the truck. So we're going to see how quickly I can do this. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so as you can see back here, this is the frame rails for the rear of the Bronco. These are the OEM, nothing's been cut, nothing's been damaged, but we've got three huge bolt holes back here, as well as a fourth, which is where part of the rear leaf spring ties into, bolt hole as well. So we've got three good mounting points on the frame rail on both sides of this truck. So my plan is to build a plate to mount to this that brings the bumper out a little bit, and then that's what the bumper itself is going to tie into. The Bronco's got its rear quarter panels complete, and these are in really good condition, and I don't want to do like a big wrap around it. And thankfully for next good old Ford engineering, I think this is going to work really well to just have a plate that sits in here and brings the bumper out a little bit, and that'll be that. I don't want to do anything around this corner panel here on either side since they're in such good condition. So we got that basic idea there, and then we'll do a 2-inch receiver hitch to hold like a bike carrier or something down there as well. But that's what we're working with. Now, to get to the fun part, I've got a few pieces of this 16 gauge cold rolled steel plate that was actually the skins of the powder coat oven when I built that, and this is the drops that got cut off of the main sheet. So I bought the whole sheet, I got them cut down to size and folded up the way I needed to for the oven, and then this is the remainder that I have. So I would like to use as much of this scrap as possible. Now generally 16 gauge is not what you want to use for a bumper. You want to generally be like 1/8 inch or greater because you want to have all that rigidity. I'm going to counter that by using some scrap pieces of tube that I have to give it that reinforcement that it needs on the back side, and I'm going to put some angles and some bends into this that'll give it the support that it needs to be strong enough for this bumper. Again, ultimately, I like simplicity, I like clean designs, I like clean lines. I'm just trying to fill in that back gap that's on the back of this truck and give it a nice clean look to the back of the truck. I also don't want this thing to be super heavy because I know that I'm going to be building a whole camping setup in the back of this truck to include drawers, a kitchen, storage, and a bed, amongst a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't want to have a ton of weight on the bumper just dragging down the rear end on top of all the other stuff that's going to go inside this truck. Now I am going to redo the suspension on the rear of the Bronco and give it a little bit extra to hold all that extra weight, but still I don't want to have a couple extra 100 pounds for no reason. So the name of this game is going to be keeping it lightweight and simple and to the point. So we're going to use some of this plate, we're going to do some bends and stuff. I've got a piece of scrap. I don't even know what I bought this for originally, but this is 2-inch receiver tube, like a blank of it. So it fits a regular 2-inch ball really well. Like that, I just got to drill a hole for it. So we'll use some of this receiver tube. Like I said, this is just scrap underneath the table, so we use this to mount a receiver to. I've got some more 2-inch stock. Got some 1/4-inch plate drops from the plasma table as well. So we're going to figure out something that works. It should be a fun project. I'm going to go ahead and start laying this out, and once I have a design, I will bring you guys back and I'll talk through the design and then we'll start building. Alright, so I didn't record this part because I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did plasma cut out those 2 plates which you guys saw, and then I took 2 pieces of, this is 2-inch quarter wall DOM, again just scrap from control arms on the Commando. I took that, spliced it to the receiver, and then went to the other side like that as well. These aren't fully welded, these are just tacked right now, but they are stable, they're not going to go anywhere. And I've got the 2 plates that are bolted into the inside of the Bronco frame rails. So this is going to be the main frame. So I do need to go through and add some gussets and stuff in here. I'll use 1/4 inch for that as well, so it'll have a whole 1/4 inch gusseted main frame sub bumper, and then I got to go through and make like the vanity plate kind of stuff, which is what we're going to get to next. So this is what we got as a starting point though, and I do like how this is starting to shape up. I just need to figure out how I want to do the vanity plates. Now these frame rails, these little cutouts I did stick out about 2.5 to 3 inches from the edge of the body. So that's going to be how far the bumper sticks out. It's going to be kind of sucked up. It's going to be kind of out of the way, which is the way I want it. I don't want to have a huge hanging chin off the back of this Bronco. So that's what we got so far. I got to turn on the plasma cutter again and then cut down the first of the vanity plates. I'm going to do the bend sections that go into these quarter panels first, and then build the rest of the bumper off of that. Because if I have the bends down and tack welded into place, then I know how to make the top of the bumper, and I can do all of that on the table. Alright, so again, for the majority of this bumper, all the vanity stuff, I'm going to just use this 16 gauge that I have. So this is an 8-inch piece of 16 gauge, and I want it to be 5 inches, the bumper to be 5 inches, because that is the height of the frame, as well as what fits with the body lines of the Bronco. So we're going to do just one straight long cut down this whole thing at 5 inches to make this sheet a 5-inch sheet. We're going to put a bend in it using the swag finger brake, put a bend in it at that 90, and then cut off the end of that 90 so that it sucks up into the frame nice and tight. So anyways, let's get the plasma cutter going, cut a big 5-inch strip out of this, and then bend it up on the swag brake and see how it fits. Alright, so this is what those 2 little plates look like. Just came off the press there. You see we just put a 90-degree bend on the side of it. Gives it a nice rounded corner coming off of that swag brake there. And then they'll fit very snugly like that. And that's going to be the main plate for the face of this Bronco. So I got to get this squared up and even and all that kind of stuff, and then tack it into place. And then I'll probably just do a couple quick little gussets just to hold this in so that's at a 90-degree perfectly flat. But that's the basic idea for what I'm going for. Alright, so this is what the bumper looks like on the truck. As you can see, it's not perfectly, it's not perfect, obviously. This side is just a smidge higher than that side, but that's okay. It'll work out just fine. It's a bumper. I've got all of the support pieces on the back side welded in, not all the gussets and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do that on the table. But I've got all the support stuff that'll keep this thing in this shape so that I can pull it off, put it on the table, and do all the final welding. It's a lot easier to do final welding on the table than it is to try to do it on the truck. So I'm going to pull it off and put it on the table and go through and do all of this welding. Anyways, we got to do a little flat plate around the 2-inch receiver to kind of cover up all that, where that seam's at and where the rest of the stuff is at. Cover up all that, and I don't think I'm going to do a bottom plate. I think I'm going to literally just leave it like this, just a shell of a bumper. So let's pull this off, get it on the table, and then welding montage time. All right, so now to get to the absolute worst part of doing any kind of piecemeal bumper like this, which is going to be doing all of the grinding after you get done doing all of the welding. So you want the surface to look smooth, obviously. You don't want it to have a whole bunch of weld marks all over it. So I like to go through and just grind the whole thing down and make it a nice, smooth, rounded surface as if it was a bent piece of steel. So it sucks to do, but it is a really important step. So I'm going to knock out the grinding, and then I'll show you guys what the finished product looks like. Alright, so as you guys can see here, this is the bumper. I'll get out of the rest of the shot here for a second. This is what it looks like. It is extremely simple, obviously. It's basically just a rectangle. Normally a piece of like rectangular tubing would have worked really well on something like this, but I didn't have any, so I made it out of plate steel instead. But you can see that it is nice, it's clean, it fits the back of the truck, and the tailgate does still work. I did test it, so it does fall down, and the tailgate doesn't sit on top of the bumper, which is a nice touch. It looks kind of similar to the stock one. It's just simple. It's just something there to kind of cover up the frame rail and all that other kind of stuff. If I choose to in the future, I can always remake this into something else, but for right now, this is what's going to fit the need. It's lightweight, it's back there, and it works. All right, guys, so this is going to finish up this project for today. It did take me about 4.5, 5 hours to build, which isn't too bad, truthfully, all things considered. It's obviously dark out now. I've got to clean up the shop, and then I'm going to go inside and edit this video. This is a super simple bumper. Like I said, it's only meant to kind of cover up the frame rails. I'm not planning on attaching anything big to it. It doesn't have D-links, it doesn't have reinforcements or anything like that on it, because that's not what this is meant for. What I will do is I'll put a D-link on the receiver hitch, like a receiver hitch D-link, but it also have a receiver hitch on there in the back anyways. So if I did need to tow off of something, I can tow off of the receiver hitch. That part of it is extremely sturdy. It's all gusseted and welded into the main rails and the frame supports and all that kind of stuff. So that's very sturdy. The rest of it is all mostly just aesthetics, and as you can see, it's just a super simple rear bumper for the back of the truck, but I like how it turned out. It's to the point, it gets the job done. I hope you guys like this video. I got lots more stuff coming on the Bronco. I'm waiting on all my interior parts, so hopefully we can start doing the audio system and the rest of the interior here in the next couple of videos. This is just what I was doing when I was waiting for parts. Anyways, I hope you all like this. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.